Afternoon. So I mentioned in a post that I put out on Saturday about glute activation exercises that I've been doing. It's one in particular that I try and do daily. It's called clocks. It'll become apparent in a second. One of the main reasons why I do it is, and I explain this to clients in a way that if you think of those kind of like strip lights that you sometimes get, not so much anymore, and you flick a switch on and they kind of flick and then engage. I want you to kind of think of that in a way of some of our muscles. For one reason or another, and I'm not going to delve into that, the glutes, the muscles that kind of come up around your bum and around the side of your hip, etc., are a set of muscles that work in different ways. And as I say, I'm not going to delve into that, but if we look at those as muscles that don't switch on, that can potentially lead to sort of like back pain, funny movements of the spine, shoulder pain, neck pain, Achilles issues where it runs down the leg, and it pretty much it can tail back to the glutes and the lack of engagement in the glutes. So the exercise that I'm going to show you with the clocks is one that you can do daily. You can do a couple of times on each leg. I don't want anyone to treat it in terms of common exercise in the sense of sets of 10 reps, etc. It's more of a, as I say, activation, trying to get those muscles switched on and firing. So you can do it as part of your warm-up, or you can just do it, tag it onto another habit in the morning, such as when you make your morning coffee, etc. So the very first thing I wanted to kind of put out there is it's not a lunge. So a lot of people I see, their first thing they do is they transition and they go straight into a lunge. So they take all of their weight onto the foreleg and normally kind of like put it into this knee, which is probably why a lot of people have problems with their knees. But what I want you to do is sit your weight. So I'm going to work my left leg. Sit your weight into here and put pretty much all of the weight into the forefoot here. Okay. So we're going to just push that knee forward. And now I've taken this exercise off somebody else, so I'll put in the post. But I kind of try to do what I do and do it in my way a little bit. Not because his way was bad. I just, I wanted to add my own to it rather than just take from somebody else and that's it. So with regards to getting the glutes engaged, you want to get the hip really extended. So for this first part, and this is where the clock part comes in that we want to just think of the numbers on a clock as we go around, and that should hopefully make sense of how I plant my right foot. So again, weight on this leg, all the weight on this leg, barely touching with my right big toe. My left side is the side that is generally the weaker one, that doesn't quite fire, which leads to awkwardness in when I run, which then transfers down and causes pain in my knee and on the inner calf. Doesn't anymore, hence since I've been doing these glute exercises. And we'll often end up with my deadlifts looking often something like this. But again, not anymore because this leg's kind of caught up. So again, onto the exercise. So we've got all the weight into the forefoot, big toes just touching down, 98% into here, 2% into here. Really extend through the hip, pushing the knee forward as far back as you can go. If you don't get as far as me, don't worry, just do the best you can. The trick is trying to move from the hip, not just bouncing and doing your knee, because that will be your calf doing all the work, and your knee, which is again probably why a lot of runners get knee and calf issues, but anyway, side issue. So extend all the way through the hip and tap. Okay, try and keep all that weight in this leg. Again, we don't want to roll over onto this one, we want to just tap. Okay, little pause, back to center, come out to the next part of the clock, back to center. As we start moving round out to the side, I want you to get your chest over, and this is where some of the muscles three-dimensionally around the hip start to work. Similar sort of movement that you'd be in when you sit back on a deadlift. Obviously two legs engaged there. Come back into the middle, come back behind. Again, chest over because we're going behind. We've got to lean over. Okay, so we're at hip flexion now. We're working the glutes from a different angle. Back into the middle and kick all the way back. Okay, don't go all the way behind. It's not really necessary. And most people, if you've got a dominant hip, you'll just end up going all the way over here. It's not really going to do you a lot of good. It's just going to aggravate old injuries and scar tissue. Back to the center one more time, push all the way through, try and get that knee through, hip extended. It's a tricky exercise, but it should be, but you should feel like you're engaging your glute. As you can see, my chest is pushing towards the ceiling because I've got hip extension and my knees pushing through. I feel a little bit of a stretch in my ankle and calf, but more importantly, I feel that my glute, particularly lower down here, is starting to switch on. As I work round, it starts to hit it from different angles, particularly when I get out to here, okay, and then back. The other thing that's starting to work is my forefoot and the arch of my foot. A lot of people complain about collapsed arches and flat feet. Again, not saying this is the sole reason, but rather than getting thicker and thicker padding on shoes, what we need to do is learn how to engage the arches and build up that strength again. But again, as we switch over to the other side, same deal. I am prone to kicking out on this side like most people, so I'm really going to try and squeeze and just touch around that way, so I'm not shifting off that way, okay? This is where videoing yourself doing the exercise is quite helpful. And out to the side, and back, and back. Goal-wise, I'm trying to work towards doing these with putting no weight on my left foot, or whichever side it is, as possible, keeping it all in here, knee forward, similar to how I'd like to land as I transition over and run, get onto that forefoot, kiss the ground with the heel, and then transition and flick. But it won't happen without the glute activation. Okay, perfect. I'll break that down and put it up. Hope you enjoy. Any questions, send me a message. Have a good day.